sjstrum, how are you all? Welcome back to Sweden, welcome back to a girl name list. So last week I did the boy list version of this list, which is classic but uncommon baby names, because I know that when you're flipping through these A to Z, you kind of want to know also the meaning, the rankings, a bit more information about the name, so you can pick a name that is traditional enough to kind of be timeless and not stick out as kind of unique or weird or anything like that, and will last them a lifetime as well, particularly for our girls, is thinking, you know, so is she a little girl, she's going to be taken seriously as a woman, all those things that my husband likes to talk about when we were picking names, not me so much. I'm all for the unique and wacky. But these float my boat as well, so they're in that sweet spot that we're always looking for, as in they're outside the top 50, they're steady, as in they've been there for a long time, but they're not super duper rising fast either, so you're going to get a gem of a name, and all these names are absolutely gorgeous. So have a listen, let me know more you would add to this list in the comment section below. Check out last week's boy version of this list, there's some brilliant names in the list that I chose, but also in the comment section, so keep your comments coming in. If you're naming a baby or you've got a birth announcement, huge congrats, let us know in the comment section below, and check us out on Instagram, Baby Name Envy, where day to day we are posting your dilemmas and baby names, everything good like that. So let me go through the name. So you're going to hear, as I said, a bit more rare, so not like the Rose, the Femies, the Phoebes, and all those ones, like Alice I love as well, but they kind of stick around quite near the top. So I've gone a little bit further, and I'm going to go from most common to least common, as in further down the charts, but not any less beautiful. So the first one I've picked is the name Erin. I really like the name Erin. It was on my name list. To me, it's a super stylish name in that it's really short and simple, but it's really unique. And it's at number 54, so it's in a really good spot where everyone can knows the name, can say it. I think you'd get like that second glance of, oh, that's a really lovely name. I had no idea that Erin actually means Ireland, as in the country Ireland. Why do I say that so weird? Ireland? Couldn't say island? Ireland. Anyway, my mum is Irish, so I should be able to say it better, but it actually means island, which I think is really, really cool as well. Really worth me knowing that and using, but I think if a lot of us have Irish roots and Irish history, so Erin is a really top spot for me. Next, at number 64, is the name Nancy. So Nancy's been around for so long, we all really know it. It does have like Nancy Drew vibes as well, so a lot of that sort of retro vintage literary name, and I feel like it is on that cusp of being kind of vintage cool, but also quite trendy and new. But what do you think of Nancy? I've got a feeling it might be a bit divisive, that you either love it or don't. So it actually, I didn't realise, it's a variant of Anne. So if you're honouring an Anne in your family, or you love the name Anne, but want to make it a little bit more unique, then Nancy is a really good choice as well. Obviously, you think of Oliver Twist with Nancy, Oliver being our number one boy name. Kind of shouldn't probably get Oliver and Nancy, but I do really love Nancy, and it means grace. So really cute. So if you have a Grace already, then you had a Nancy. It was kind of sweet that their names mean the same. So I think it's a really top pick. Amber is at number 79 in the UK charts, and I just think it's stunning. It's getting more sort of wearable now because there's a few actresses called Amber, and it's out there a lot, but I've always, again, really, really liked the name Amber. It's a colour name which is really popular, and we're seeing Hazel actually really rise in popularity and zoom up the charts, and Amber's got that same sort of golden, warm, sort of trendy colour to it, doesn't it, Amber? But I really like it. It actually means jewel. So amber is a rare gemstone made of fossilized tree sap. So it's quite naturey as well. So it's got nature, it's got colour, it's unique, it's got a bit of the glamour of Erin as well, I think, Amber. I love, what do you think? And you could even go with a nickname then of Amma, which I really like as a nickname at the moment as well, Amma. What do you think of Edith? Edith is at number 89. It's been on a few of my lists, and always it gets a lot of popularity in the comment section. So I think it's one of those, again, rare gems, which is exactly what we're looking for with these girl names. Edith, it's from an old English word meaning riches or blessed. So that's kind of nice, a blessing of your baby daughter. You could be called Edith. It's just a very vintage sounding name to me. I was thinking about it, you know, obviously Edie, funnily enough, the nickname has become almost more popular than the long form, and that full circle is starting to happen. So we saw so many nicknames as first names. I have done a whole list called vintage nicknames as first names on my channel. which are a bit more unique, but like the Lotties, the Maddies, the Edis, the Adas, that's not a nickname, you know what I mean, are all sort of leaping ahead of the longer form. So you could go, if you liked Edie, maybe go with Edith to give you that sort of standout later on if she chooses to go by her longer name as a idea. But I did also see that somebody has an Edith on a forum who called her Dita, and I thought that was really cute because I quite like Dita, and it's a bit more sort of it's the word sassy. Can I pull off saying the word sassy? I'm going with it. Dita, but I quite liked it. The name Annie is at 115 in the chart. I absolutely love it. I actually love Anne just by itself. I think it's so underused, and Annie is lovely. I think of obviously the musical Annie, which has had its revamp. It's one of my kids' favourite movies. If you haven't watched the revamp of Annie with your kids, if you've got them, it's brilliant. A lot of the same songs, by the by. So it is kind of a Hebrew name as well. And I think Hannah would have been perfect on this list as well. I love the name Hannah, but it's kind of a variation from Hannah. Give Anne, Annie. I just think it's so lovely. It means favoured or gracious, and it's really overlooked. In a classroom that would be full of kind of like Isla's, full of Lunas even, you can be a little Annie, and it's really cute. I don't know, what do you think of Annie? Is she going to get a little orphan Annie all the time? I don't know. The name Lydia is at number 133. This was a name I absolutely loved growing up because my neighbours had a daughter who was like a teenager called Lydia, and I used to absolutely love her name. And she was Italian, so I've always thought of it as an Italian name. It's actually Greek, and it's got a really interesting history that it was an ancient place name, which I had no idea. So there was a place called Lydia, and it was a very, very ancient town, and that was, so Lydia means a woman from Lydia, the place, which I think is quite cool. And apparently the people who inhabited this very early place name, it was where the invention of coinage came from, coinage, imagining money, and apparently it was also, they were known for having great wealth therefore, but also having really strong musical talent. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? So if that sort of musical vibe is something you want for your daughter or suit your family, Lydia could be a good one. It is quite lyrical, isn't it, Lydia? Sadie is at number 142. We've got friends of a little girl called Sadie, and I always think it's such a cool choice. For me, it's quite 60s era, but I think I'm thinking of, you know, like the Beatles song, which actually isn't about a woman, but they do have a Sadie song. It's a nickname for Sarah. I'm Sarah Jane, so she would be of the same name really if you've got a Sarah in your family, so it means princess, the same as Sarah. Sadie. I think it's really cool, and it's so underused, I think. Naomi is at number 166 in the UK charts. This is my sister's name. If you listen to our podcast called Baby Name Envy, you will have heard my sister on there. She's brilliant, and the name Naomi came through so many times. I'll try and link the podcast episode below where we just can't stop laughing about it because so many people had the name Naomi on their list. So it seems to be really coming up, and Noemi is rather French, but Naomi, Hebrew names are so popular. Delilah is really the poster girl at the moment, but Naomi genuinely is on so many forums, so many of your lists at the moment. It means pleasantness, and it's just having a little bit of its day, but it is all the way down at 166. But again, something that, a name that we all know, we're all familiar with. It also has apparently separate Japanese roots, which I never knew about. I found this first of all for this research, and where it means beautiful. So that's nice. As far as I can tell, my sister's got little Japanese roots. Bethany is at number 179. I always think that's an underused name, Bethany. Actually, when I was little and I used to make up my own name, surprise, surprise, Bethany was quite high up my list for a while, so probably still a few people around Swindon who think I'm called Bethany. But I just really liked it. It means house of figs. Which I think is quite funny, but I think it's really nice. My sister we were talking about this name I remembered on the podcast, and she was saying about the fig tree being a really beautiful tree that you could sort of use as a symbol or an emblem if you had a daughter called Bethany. But again, I think it's like Elizabeth, obviously a variation of Elizabeth. They're always really popular. Tess, Eliza's booming at the moment, so maybe jumping to Bethany is a little bit unique. And Bet is a really nice little nickname, Beth, so she's got quite a few options if she's a Bethany, but she would stand out amongst her peers. Eve is at number 181 in the UK chart. I love it. It was always kind of, when I was first pregnant with my eldest, who's 11, I really liked Eve, and then funnily enough, years later, when I had my daughter who's called Evelina, she was due on Christmas Eve, and her name starts EVE, Evelina, and I didn't even think of that. that's how much of a baby mitzvah I am. You're so different when you're pregnant, you're just in such a different fog. But I really like Eve, and I think it could be an option for her for a nickname when she's older. There is the big show Killing Eve at the moment, which is kind of making me so strong in my mind thinking about that program. But with so many Evas out there, Eve actually is unique and stands out. And it's taken from this old word, which is, I'm not going to pronounce it properly, but it's like Cheva or Chiva, which means to breathe or to live. And I always loved that my daughter's name meant sort of life and spirit in there as well. So I really, really like it. Josie is at number 256. So I like it. It's a nickname as first name from sort of Josephine, which is a derivative feminine form of Joseph. So it could be a good Christmas baby, but Josie and the Pussycats. I was like looking there, I had to look it up, and I was like, is that a real band? And I'm like, no, that was a movie. But I really like Josie. It is sort of one of those that if you like those IE endings, like the Maddies that we talked about earlier, the Lotties, and you're looking for something a bit more unique even than an Edie, Josie is right down the charts, 256. Such a cool name. Evelina's got a little friend called Josie, and it really sticks out amongst her little gang of friends. It's such a cute name, and she could even be a Cece. Lois is at 265 in the UK charts, best known as Clark Kent's girlfriend, but yeah, Lois Lane, but she makes it quite cool, I think, and I think a lot of dads might like the fact that she's sort of a Superman reference as well. I've always liked it. It actually says it's a biblical name here, which I've written down, but is it? I have to double check my fact, and it means more desirable. Yeah, so get away Delilah, because Lois is on its case. But I love Lois, I've always liked the nickname Lo. I think that's really nice as well. When you're looking for something again in this sort of sweet spot that everyone knows but sounds very stylish. Imagine putting some of these together. I'd love to know your sort of sibling names. Like imagine having an Erin and a Lois. Suddenly you've got super cool names that no one else is sort of using as much. Stella is at number 373. So Stella's a hard one because of the beer brand Stella Artois. So some people really associate it as more of a brand name, which is a shame because it means star. So it should fit in with that sun, moon and stars type of list, which I've done with like Phoebe and Luna and all of those. But Stella, I've always liked it. It is very synonymous with a streetcar named Desire and Stanley Kowalski shouting Stella from that movie, from that old movie or that old play. But I've always thought it is a really beautiful name. There's so many Ellas that going with Stella could just be a really nice choice, and I can't believe it's so far down at 373. Yeah, but meaning star is a beautiful meaning. Verity, all the way down to 377, Verity. It means truth, and you know, I love a modern virtue name. Verity was really high on my list, and I think for alternative for Olivia, I always say Verity because it's got so many of the perfect sounds of it, and I think the beauty of an Olivia, but not being the #1 spot, Verity. I love the fact that it means truth. Her nickname could be True, which I love the name True, but would never be brave enough to use it. So it comes from Veritas. Yeah, really gorgeous name right down there. And last week we had Victor and Vincent on the boy name version of this list, and loads of you love those in the comments, so I wonder if you love Verity just as much. Let me know. The next one, I've only got 2 more, is Daphne. So yes, Daphne before Bridgerton. I was so slow to watch Bridgerton, but I have caught up because everyone was watching it, so me and Henrik did actually watch it, and the main character is called Daphne. If you haven't succumbed to Bridgerton mania, yes, Daphne was the main character, and the names in that whole book, I did a whole, it is a book that became a TV show. I did do a whole list of kind of period drama inspired names from Daphne and Simon. But Daphne is starting to see a bit of views. I've already seen a couple of baby Daphne's been born after, I think the programme, not named after the character, but I think when you're watching something like that, the name, you realise how beautiful it is and how rare gem it is at 382. It means bay tree or laurel tree, so I think that's really interesting. It's got a hidden nature meaning. Let me know if you would like a whole hidden nature name list. I'm thinking of doing that one. And what's lovely is there's the Greek mythological Daphne. The myth goes that she was sort of Apollo had her in his sights basically as a love interest, and it was unwanted attention, so she was turned by herself, or who turned her into a laurel bush to basically hide from Apollo. I think it's quite a cool story. I love the myths, and Daphne seems quite a doing things her own way type of gal. And last but not least, at number 396, and nearly down at 400, is the name Margaret. So I think this name is so gorgeous, and we've gone all around Margaret. We've gone mad for Margot, we've gone potty for Pearl. What else can I say? But it's got so many nicknames and variations of Margaret that Margaret itself, you just imagine a cute little girl called Margaret. I just think it's adorable, and Elizabeth is coming up, and I think Margaret will be hot on its heels after The Crown and all of these shows. We're going right back in time, I can imagine. I do love Marguerite as well, so I think it originally came from French, looking back at the history and the timeline of Margaret, and then it was borrowed from Persia, and it eventually became Margaret. And I just think it is a stunning name that is ripe for its revolution back into the charts, but is still all the way down there. So there's no way that even in 4 or 5 years when she starts school, she would be amongst a load of Margot's maybe, but she might be the only Margaret. So those are my classic but uncommon girl names. I'm desperate to know what you think of them. Let me know in the comment section below. I will see you next week for another baby name list. Let me know. You can request a name list below as well, and do like each other's name list ideas. I'll try to do the one that gets the most likes next week. Don't forget to check out the podcast. There are 20 episodes of our podcast where we answer real name dilemmas. So there's whole 20 episodes. Try and get through all of them, because we will be back soon recording. As soon as I'm back from Sweden, I will be meeting up with my sister. My email address is also below if you want to email me a dilemma. All of them get put into a folder, and then we go through them all for the podcast. So you might not get instant reply. If you need an instant emergency name, find us at Baby Name Envy on Instagram. And I will see you next Monday with a new name list. Lots of love, guys. Bye bye.